Welcome to the Plant Trainers Podcast, where we're helping people improve their quality of life through nutrition and fitness. And now, your hosts, nutrition and wellness coaches, international speakers, Adam and Shoshana Chaim.
Hey, I'm Adam Chaim.
And I'm Shoshana Chaim, and we are
Propelled by Plants. Today we bring to you episode 271, Optimizing Your Mitochondria with Colleen Poling.
In today's episode of the Plant Trainers Podcast, we talked to Colleen Poling about nutrients, mitochondria, and a plant-based diet. We discuss how to know if a plant-based diet is right for you and some common pitfalls people have when they go plant-based. Many people can eat a balanced diet and thrive, but some people need to pay closer attention to the nutrients that they're taking in. And finally, we talk about mitochondria. And if you're thinking, mito what? Then it's imperative you find out what it is and why you need to optimize it. Let's face it, who doesn't want to optimize their mitochondria? So share this podcast on social media or send it through email to a few friends. You could find it at planttrainers.com/271 or by downloading it anywhere you love to listen to podcasts. Want to be part of the conversation? Find us on social media and comment on the posts.
Colleen is a registered dietitian and vegan wellness educator. She has spent the last decade as a leader in the plant-based nutrition space. She's a professional plant-based translator, converting vegan nutrition concepts into an easy-to-digest way and cracking the code on vegan nutrition for optimal health. Colleen's transformational workshops and one-on-one nutritional counseling sessions teach individuals how to optimize their health by understanding the hidden and often overlooked components of plant-based nutrition for a vibrant, healthy, long life. Want to go plant-based without the worry of what to eat to stay healthy, even if you can't find the time to do the research?
Don't worry, here at Plant Trainers, we have you covered. If you're looking to up your athletic game and start training for a race and make sure you know exactly what to eat, Adam can solve your dilemmas and train you to the top of your game.
If you're trying to find the time to batch cook, figure out what to make to be sure you're covering all your nutritional bases and relieve anxiety with innovative stress techniques, Shoshana can get you feeling confident and in control.
So basically what we're saying is send us an email to info@planttrainers.com and we'll hop on the phone with you. For you, our amazing listeners, this is a complimentary call to get to know you better, see what your goals are, and let you know how we can help. No pressure, but a real connection.
What do you have to lose? A few pounds or less stress? Let's do this. Contact us at info@planttrainers.com. And now for a moment of gratitude.
I'm grateful for books. As a kindergarten teacher for over 15 years, books were really important in terms of not just teaching kids about literacy, but teaching them life skills as well. I'm grateful that I can share that with my children. I'm grateful that I can share books with all of you and that I could sit down and read either for fact or fiction or anything and just lose myself in a book. And I'm just grateful for that.
This has been a month filled with holidays for us, and I'm grateful to have had the opportunity to be with family and spend time with them and be together.
Colleen Poling, thank you so much for spending time with us today on the Plant Trainers Podcast.
Oh, it's wonderful to be here. Thanks for having me.
You're welcome. Thanks for being here again. And we wanted to know if you had a moment of gratitude that you'd like to share with us and our listeners.
Yeah. So I'm really just so grateful for the setbacks and challenges that have made me stronger and have formed who I am today. And Ralph Waldo Emerson, I think he once said something along the lines of cultivate the habit of being grateful for everything that comes to you and give thanks continuously because all the things have contributed to your advancement. So personally, I feel it's really hard, but I can trust that everything that comes up in my life, even setbacks and mistakes and rejections, are serving me, making me better, and really helping me live out my authentic truth.
Well, we've all been through these challenges, and they're always ongoing and always presenting themselves. Every day we get new challenges, and it's how we deal with them and what we do with that information that really does make us stronger. You're totally right. And every day you're going to face a new challenge, and we just got to find ways to navigate them.
Absolutely.
Turn adversity into amazement. Somehow, even when it seems terribly hard.
Even when you're going through it and there is uncertainty, that there's something good going to be coming from it.
So we know that there's lots of good that comes from a plant-based diet. There's lots of good that comes from a vegan diet or vegan lifestyle. But what is it that we need to know? I mean, we wanted to talk a little bit, is vegan good for everybody, or is a plant-based diet good for everybody? This is something that we talk about with our clients, that we've talked about on the podcast before, but I thought that it would be really great to have that conversation with you today as well.
Yeah. So first and foremost, it's my philosophy to really meet clients where they're at in all aspects of health and wellness. So for most of us, we weren't vegan from birth. And it's important to note that transitioning to a vegan diet can take time for some people. And it's also part of my philosophy to just help to encourage people to eat more plants in general. So I think if we encourage this versus being really strict about veganism, it can help people make steps towards change in a positive way. So, but with that said, I do believe that most people can thrive on a vegan diet, but veganism, I personally believe, isn't for everyone. So metabolic variation, gut health can determine if someone thrives or flounders on a plant-based diet. It's not only about what we eat, but it's also about what we convert and absorb that really matters.
So do you think that most people can heal? Because a lot of people's bodies, even if they kind of look good on the outside, a lot of people are kind of falling apart on the inside. Do you believe that if enough people heal properly, that then a plant-based diet is something that they can for sure 100% thrive on?
Definitely. Yeah, definitely. Most people can heal on a plant-based diet. There are a select few that don't thrive, and it needs to be looked at a little bit closer, who then, if it's looked at closer, can move towards a more plant-based diet and eventually vegan diet if it's just really taken a little bit closer look at.
How would somebody know if their body is able to convert the nutrients that they're getting or not?
Yes, that's a good question. So the first and foremost would be, I would highly recommend getting a yearly blood test on certain vitamins and minerals to see if it's in fact in the blood you're getting, for example, DHA, omega-3 fatty acids, vitamin D, nutrients like that. Some examples for that, certain people have harder times converting over than others. Vitamin A, for example. We have to convert beta carotene to vitamin A. Some are better at others at converting that over, and poor converters can become deficient. I can give you some other examples if that's helpful as well. Things like the gut microbiome and vitamin K2. Like, our gut plays a huge role in how we respond to different foods and how we make specific nutrients. So, for example, if trauma happened to the microbiome, or all the gut bacteria, such as antibiotics, chemotherapy, and certain illnesses, this can cause permanent damage to like a once very healthy gut community. So there's even some evidence that certain bacterial populations really never return to their former glory after, for example, the antibiotic exposure. So if it's never formed back to its former glory, specific vitamins like vitamin K2, which actually is produced by specific bacteria in our gut, can really sink to tragic levels, robbing vegans of the gifts of K2, which is a really important and overlooked nutrient that if we're not getting enough of that, it can contribute to dental problems, bone fractures. Not getting enough of it can also result in cardiovascular problems as well, in certain cancers. So,
what about osteoporosis?
Yeah, definitely, because K2 is involved in the pathway with vitamin D and calcium, and shuttling the calcium from the arteries to the bones and teeth where it really should be.
And if somebody would have had bad microbiome from the beginning, and maybe they had a lot of cavities growing up, does that mean that usually maybe that they're not processing this properly in the body, and that they're going to be more susceptible to osteoporosis later on in life?
It could be. I mean, it really depends on the person. So making the connection between if someone has a deficient microbiome and then they have cavities, it may or may not be the case. The best thing to do is to test the blood to see where you're at, if you feel like that might be an issue, and supplementing with K2, because it's a really easy thing to supplement with, multivitamin.
And when people go to their doctors for their yearly checkups, hopefully they're going to their doctors for their yearly checkups to get their yearly blood test. Is K2 something that would normally be put on the vials, or is that something that you need to ask for specifically?
That's something you should ask for specifically. So if your osteoporosis runs in your family, or you notice your teeth are breaking down, or bone health is deteriorating, that might be something you want to look into. Or you've been on antibiotics for several times, or chemotherapy or something that has broken down your microbiome. Considering K2 and looking deeper at what your levels are would be important.
I need to tell you that I was on antibiotics basically from the time that I was born. When I was 3 weeks old, I was screaming. My parents couldn't figure out why. They finally took me to the doctor and found out that I had an ear infection at 3 weeks old. And that continued on well into my 20s, actually, where it was, if not twice a month, every single month, I was on antibiotics for ear infections. And then early 20s, it kind of shifted to that strep throat and sinus infections that kept happening. And then it took a couple of years into becoming plant-based. It definitely slowed down, but it still took a couple of years. And it's because now I'm spending all of these years, like the last 10 years of my life, reversing all of the damage that was done to my body for the first, God, I don't want to say 30 years of my life. And I think that's something that's important for people to recognize, that even though you adopt a plant-based diet, you can do everything right. Make sure that you're supplementing with your B12 and your vitamin D, and make sure that you're getting, you're reaching all of Greger's daily dozens and all that. But at the same time, just because you're doing that, it doesn't mean that all the damage that you've created in your body for 20, 30, 40, 50 years is just going to go away overnight. It takes a long time to get there. And sometimes there's outside protocol other than regular food that needs to bring you there.
Absolutely. And that's why I think it's really important for each person is specific, and what works for you on a vegan diet might not work for someone else. And certain things that might have happened to people, for example, you're on antibiotics and your microbiome has been a lot of trauma to it. So sounds like you've been taking a lot of action on trying to heal that, but there still may be some things that might not ever be recovered. You can get really, 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 really close, but there's still maybe some things to look at.
I actually think it has a huge effect on my mental health, and that I suffered PTSD after Adam's health issues that we had about 9 years ago. And I strongly believe that because of the state of my body, my brain was very well connected to that as well. And had I not grown up with all those ear infections and not been on all of those antibiotics and maybe had a healthier diet growing up, although I did eat a lot of vegetables, that maybe I would have reacted emotionally and mentally to all of that a lot different.
It sounds like you learned a lot from that, and the person you are today is because of what happened, the challenges you went through.
Getting back to that adversity, 100%.
Yeah.
So what other pitfalls can we find in a plant-based diet? We've heard of people whose hair starts falling out, people saying that they're lacking protein or feeling lethargic. What do you have to say about that?
So being on a vegan diet does require some special attention to managing and getting the right nutrients. And there are really too many stories to count where vegans start off feeling great and the first couple of years, but then they start to experience fatigue, maybe hair loss, like you were saying, anxiety, diminished sex drive, mindset, mental breakdowns. So as a solution to this, it's a properly managed vegan diet, working with a nutritionist or a registered dietitian or a doctor that has experience in vegan diets can really help you make sure you're living your life to the fullest in terms of your plant-based diet and your nutrition, and help you feel amazing. Really ask yourself, like, how do I feel on a regular basis? Am I feeling tired? Am I feeling sluggish? Am I dragging towards the end of the day? Do I experience brain fog, reduced concentration? Do I have mood swings? Any bouts of depression? Am I an athlete who has increased fatigue? So those are all kind of examples of questions to ask yourself that if you are answering yes, then may not be getting the right amount of nutrients and or your mitochondria might not be functioning properly.
So let's let the listeners know what exactly mitochondria is.
Yes. So remember in middle school science class, mitochondria are the houses of the cell. And it's probably one of the most important parts of our bodies to optimize. You can live without food and water for a couple of days, but you can't live without your mitochondria for more than a couple of seconds. So it's really, really vital to get these little guys functioning to optimal levels and help to keep you energized.
So how do we do that? How do we don't see our mitochondria, we don't feel them, they're inside of our cells. So how do we know that we're actually getting them to function properly? There's a bunch of different ways we can make sure that we have, the goal is really to make sure we have strong, ample mitochondria, which is help form the basis of our body and our brain power. So you're right, like how do we know if we are doing that or not? And kind of going back to questions of energy, like how are you feeling energy wise? That's a good place to start. And if you want to even optimize them more, there are a couple different strategies I could offer today. The first one would be considering including different types of foods that help detox, for example. So like ridding heavy metals from the body. So if you like cilantro is a great natural detoxer. You can add cilantro to your diet. Chlorella a couple times a week, add that in your smoothie to help rid those heavy metals and pull those heavy metals out of your body to help protect the mitochondria. Fulvic acid. Are you guys familiar with fulvic acid? It's different than folic acid, which is a nutrient needed in the body. Folic acid, one of two classes of a humic acid. So it's organic compounds found within the Earth's rocks and soils and sediments. And we're finding now how beneficial the fulvic acid can be to helping rid heavy metals from the body. So there's this amazing, amazing superfood. I'm all about superfoods and including more of them in the diet. A specific superfood called shilajit. And shilajit has long been known to Ayurvedic practitioners for its healing power. Shilajit is an organic substance harvested from the biomasses of the Himalayas. So it's like this amazing biomass found in the mountains. And it acts as a powerful adaptogen, providing a lot of defense for the body from stress and different illnesses. So there's actually a lot of cutting edge science. I like to look at the science. If there's no science behind it, then chances are I'm not going to back it up because I'm not for all the different crazy superfoods that have all these claims but no science to back it up. But this one specifically has a lot of cutting edge science. With the analysis of the humic substances as the principal active ingredient that helps to enhance mitochondrial flow. So that fulvic acid really helps to carry unwanted chemicals out of the body. The shilajit has it. If you like blackstrap molasses, there's also some fulvic acid in the blackstrap molasses too, if you want to start there. So the next one would be, this one seems kind of obvious, but it's one that most humans have a hard time reducing stress.
We interrupt this podcast to bring you this message. The Plant Trainers podcast is free, and it will always be free. And we are so delighted to bring it to you every single week. But there's costs associated with it. For example, we have hosting fees and our time. How many hours a week do you think you put into this podcast?
I don't know, 3, 5,
So you
6,
edit it,
you
depends. You make images to go with it. There's lots of things that you put out there. I'm reaching out to people all the time, making sure that they're committed, making sure that the show notes are ready, making sure we have questions ready, probably 10 to 15 hours a week or per show that go into creating this podcast for you. So if we were in person, I guess we'd say right now we're holding out our tip jar. And if you look on internet, you could find some really cool little tip jars like tips. They're like hugs without the awkward body contact, or tips tip me please so I could send my cat to Buddha school or ninja school, all these cute little things. But Patreon takes that away. Basically what Patreon is a way for you to leave a little tip saying, hey, thanks for the amazing job you're doing. Help us cover some of those costs that come along with the podcast. And you can help tip us by going to
patreon.com/planttrainers.
And we really do appreciate everyone who has done that before. And there's some perks that go with it. So make sure you check it out.
And now back to the show.
Stress is just so intertwined with all of our body systems, especially our mitochondrial health. So really recommend considering meditation, doing like a Headspace app or like a guided meditation on YouTube for a couple minutes a day. That can really help improve your mitochondrial function.
Actually, earlier I was going to say when we were talking about how a plant-based or vegan diet is not necessarily for everybody and how we have to look at other factors, I was actually going to bring up stress at that point, because if your body's not in a good state, then it can't absorb all the nutrients. It can't break down everything properly. It's constantly fight or flight and not helping you on that level, because it's more important to save you from this giant dinosaur that's about to bite your head off, or your boss, or whoever it is. But stress plays a huge part. And there's recently a client that I've been working with where weight gain has been an issue, but we've done so many different stress techniques, so many different, more than just meditation. We've really been getting down to the science of things within her body, and how that weight gain came to a halt is just incredible. And really the diet hasn't changed all that much. Yeah, we put in some more beans, we put in some more lettuce, but we really paid close attention to stress in this case at this point in working together, and the huge difference that it made is just incredible.
Yeah, you're right about that. I think that's one of the most overlooked parts of health is like, yeah, we focus on nutrition, yeah, we focus on exercise, but stress is overlooked. And if we are super stressed, then if we're adding, for example, more exercise to our lifestyle, that's going to exercise is a type of stress, so that's going to add even more stress. So looking at the main cause, like what is causing the stress, is the first place to start, in weight loss for sure, and in all aspects of health too.
Okay, what else do you have for us for that?
Oh yeah, so I have a couple more. So keeping inflammation down. So including high antioxidant foods, and also specifically including DHA omega-3 fatty acids. And this is coming up more and more in the science and showing that vegans and vegetarians are not getting enough of the DHA omega-3 fatty acids. So omega-3 fatty acids are essential. Like we need to get them from our diet. We can get a specific type of omega-3 fatty acid called ALA through chia seeds, flax seeds, hemp seeds. But going back to, the conversion, we have to convert the ALA over to the DHA. DHA is so important for keeping inflammation at bay and also for supporting brain health and eye health as well. So the problem is most of us don't convert enough of that ALA to the DHA. So most vegans aren't getting enough of the really important DHA. So I'd recommend, I don't know if you guys are familiar with algal oil. Fish get the omega-3s from what they eat. So we can get it from the direct source, the actual algae, and taking that as a direct source of DHA.
We have a product up here. I don't know if you have it in the States, and we're not paid by the company to say this, and we're not telling everybody to run out to get it, but it's called Nutri-C.
Okay.
So it's like the vegan version of all the other fish oils that are on the shelf.
Awesome. Yeah. That's cool. I haven't heard that brand. But yeah, I think this is a really important one to include the DHA. So a couple more, including healthy fats. And I think this is even like one of the common pitfalls of a vegan diet is not including enough fat. And it's my personal opinion, people I've worked with, fat is so important, and it helps to absorb fat-soluble vitamins. Our brain is made of fat. All of our cells are encased in fat, and if we are not getting enough of it, that can be a problem, especially to our mitochondrial health. So including whole plant-based fats like avocado, nuts and seeds is a really important thing to do.
I want to put a pin in there for a minute because there are lots of listeners who have heard us have Dr. Essylstyn on or have Dr. Greger on, and we've talked about heart health with Dr. Khan and Dr. Davis as well. And we kind of get some different views on fat. And when we talk to Dr. Essylstyn, who has been working with clients who are literally in the do or die stage, where their heart health is so bad that, like, you know, a clown jumping out of a closet, it can be, you know, the heart attack that ends their life, then we look at all those fats and all those nuts and seeds, and that's just not good for them because of that urgent state that we're in. But when we talked to Dr. Jenkins just a couple of weeks ago, who's the creator of the glycemic index, and he's talking about studies, and I think Dr. Garth Davis talks about this as well, and maybe Dr. Khan, how there are studies that are actually showing that incorporating some avocados, some nuts and seeds into the diet can not only help with your weight loss, but help with your overall body function. It's important to go back and recognize what we said at the beginning, how everybody's a little bit different and we're all in different stages. We've all had different histories and our health is all in different urgent, well, maybe not all urgent, but we're all in different stages at this point. So we need to look at what's best for us. And just because somebody else needs to be on like a zero fat diet doesn't mean that that's what is necessary for the masses.
Absolutely. Yeah, there's a big controversy around fats. And when I go to different veg fests and festivals, when I bring up the fat, I always get a lot of people coming to me after and they're saying, well, no, I thought I wasn't supposed to eat a lot of fat. And like you said, it really depends on the person. If someone is going to have a heart attack tomorrow and they're going to need to reduce their fat to help them get to a place where they're functioning in a healthy way. But for the average person, we're going to need a little bit more fat to function healthfully.
So nutrition seems super confusing to everybody. And how would somebody be able to navigate all these different thoughts and these different things these doctors are all saying? There's a bit of conflict. So how does the average person know who to listen to?
Yeah, that's the most the confusing part here is there's all these conflicting messages and you go to different websites. One says this, the other says this. And quite honestly, like I think that's the beauty of science and nutrition is that it's always changing, and that is the beauty of science. But to answer your question, really finding someone who can look at your own personal health and not chunking it into a category, into a group. You're unique, you're special, you've been through certain things in your life. You're going to need different amounts of nutrients, macronutrients than anybody else. So getting somebody who has a really specific, diverse background within the plant-based community, whether it be a nutrition, a registered dietitian, a nutritionist, registered dietitian, or a doctor is going to be really important to look at your own individual health.
I think that's huge, that we've got to stick to a plan that works for us. We've got to find an expert that can help us in our specific situation. And at that point, you've got to stop listening to everybody else, right? You've got to kind of trust in the process, give it a couple of months, maybe 6 months, maybe a year, because if you've been sick for 30 years, it's not going to take 3 days to make you better, right? We could almost say you might need a month for every year that you've been sick to really start to see a big difference in your overall health, depending on what stage you're at.
Yeah, absolutely. It takes time to see change and to create change. And like you said, most of the time, if we've been years and years and years of eating unhealthily or choosing nutrients that aren't helpful to our bodies and our mitochondria, it's going to take time to create change and to see that change in our health.
So what are the risks of not optimizing our mitochondria?
The risk of not optimizing is decreased energy, poor cardiovascular health, aging faster is a big one. Our mitochondria are really important to keeping us living longer. Mitochondria are the most basic fuel for the body. So how strong your mitochondria are really determines how you feel at any given moment.
And so to make them stronger or to optimize them, basically we're looking at stress reduction, eating well, and exercising?
Yeah, exercise is a big part. A couple other things I can throw in there is to avoid artificial sweeteners, to eat organic when possible, and reduce the intake of pesticides, especially the specific one, glyphosate, which is the Roundup. So reducing that as well. But yeah, you hit, those are the major ones.
And I think, a lot of people say, oh, but eating more vegetables, or, oh, but eating organic is really expensive. But when you start to take a look at your bills for how often you're seeing a doctor, or how often you're getting different prescription medications, some people are covered in insurance, so it doesn't hurt them as much, but how much time are you spending in the doctor's office? What else can you be doing that? How could you be improving the relationships with your family? How could you be working more hours and earning more money, or going on vacation? And I think that it's worth it to take it as a protocol, at least for, 3 to 6 months, and see, could that make a difference in my overall health? And what are the long-term effects going to be? And we really need to make sure that we're considering our mental health in there too. Our body might feel fine, but we might be more depressed. We might have more anxiety. And if those things are happening too, then that's a red flag to take a look at what else can we do within our lifestyle to improve our quality of health and our quality of life.
Absolutely. There are a lot of long-term savings. It might feel like there's a lot of higher costs now with it in terms of money, time, spent, efforts, but the long-term savings are going to pay off.
And some things are so easy to grow at home. So for example, kale, which is extremely resilient. You can, even if you live in an apartment building, you could grow it on your deck or your balcony. You could grow it in little boxes off the side of your railing, and it will just grow and grow and grow and continue to feed you. And, if you can get some organic little sprouts to start that off, and then just watch it continuously grow throughout the whole summer, or if you live in a warmer climate throughout the whole year, then, you're laughing and you're spending less on greens.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a really good point. I like that. Growing your own food.
Do it, people. All right. So what actionable tips do you have to start with today? We've given so many good examples. You were great at that, giving examples. But what actionable tips do you have to start with today if somebody wanted to maybe examine their life and see where they need to make some changes?
Yeah, it can feel overwhelming. There's, like you were saying, there's so many things to do. Where do I even start? And I would encourage you to start with small steps, because change takes time. The first thing I would recommend is to start providing more variety in the diet, in the vegan diet. I think it is another common pitfall of vegan diet to kind of get stuck eating the same things. So I would recommend by trying 2 new recipes this week with your meal planning. That would be a good place to start to provide more variety. The more variety we have, the more nutrients we're getting.
Do you have recipes on your website?
I do. Yeah,
okay.
I can put some in the show notes if you want.
Good. Yeah. Well, we're going to link to everything after. So we'll ask you for all those links so they can go to, what is it? What is your website?
It's nutritiontranslator.com.
So go to nutritiontranslator.com, go to planttrainers.com and get some good recipes, and find that day of the week where you're not in a rush to get things on the table. Look at your recipes you want to make in advance. Make sure you have all the ingredients and go out and try those 2 new recipes. All right. Last question for you. If you can give one message to the masses, something that would inspire everybody, what is it that you'd like them to know?
Be kind to yourself. I think we are just all so hard on ourselves. And this is the number one thing I see with working with clients. And we put a lot of judgment on ourselves. And this can add so much stress. And like we were talking about before, stress plays a huge role in our health, and specifically our mitochondria health and our mindset. And the way we move through the world and the way we deal with uncertainty, we have a choice. We can decide to be mean to ourselves or be kind to ourselves. It seems simple, but I just really encourage you to be kind to yourself. Know that you're loved, and know that you're complete, and know that everything happens for you and not against you. So that would be my number one tip.
That's such an important message, and thank you for reminding us and sharing that with our listeners. And thank you for all the work you're doing with your clients and with our community and all the people that you're coming into contact with. Colleen, if people want to reach out to you, where would be the best place for them to find you?
The best place would be Instagram, at Nutrition Translator. or my website, nutritiontranslator.com. And those would be the two best places to reach me. And I'm currently I have room for coaching 2 new clients at this time. And then I work with clients on a minimum of a 3-month basis, because in order to truly see and create change, it takes time. So if you're interested, you can contact me via Instagram or my website.
Perfect. And we will link to all of those in the show notes. And if anybody wants to get their mitochondria back on track, they should definitely give you a call.
Yes, absolutely. Well, thanks so much for your time today. It was really fun.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you so much for listening to this edition of the Plant Trainers Podcast. Don't forget to subscribe on iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, or any other podcast listening platforms. We appreciate the feedback we receive from you. Every time we get a 5-star rating or review on iTunes from one of our fans, it ensures other people will find us too. Thanks to our patrons. To become a patron, visit www.patreon.com/planttrainers. Even supporting us with $1 really makes a difference. Connect and follow us on Instagram and Twitter @PlantTrainers. Like Plant Trainers on Facebook, join our newsletter, and check out our website at www.planttrainers.com for awesome plant-based recipes and a list of our services. Email your questions to info@planttrainers.com so we can answer them on our upcoming Facebook Lives. We hope we've inspired you today. Join us again next time, and have a healthy day.